The silver transport ship descended through Earth's atmosphere, its hull shimmering as it passed through scattered clouds. Inside, Lena gripped the edge of her seat, her silver-blue skin pulsing with nervous energy. This was her first assignment as a Tavari diplomat, and much rested on her shoulders. "Final approach to Earth Station Alpha," announced the pilot. "Ambassador, please prepare for landing." Lena checked her appearance one last time in the reflective panel. Her ceremonial robes draped perfectly over her slender frame, and the small glowing markers on her face showed a calm blue, hiding her inner anxiety. She had studied humans extensively, but meeting them in person was entirely different. The ship touched down with barely a tremor. Lena took a deep breath of the filtered air in the cabin before the door slid open. Earth's atmosphere was safe for Tavari to breathe, but it contained different ratios of gases than her homeworld. Minor discomfort was expected during the adjustment period. A small welcoming party waited at the bottom of the ramp. At their center stood a human male in a formal dark uniform with silver piping. Director Kim, according to her briefing materials. His face showed what Lena recognized as a welcoming expression. "Step firmly," Lena whispered to herself. "Remember your training." She walked down the ramp with measured steps, keeping her posture straight as befitted a representative of the Tavari High Council. The gravity felt slightly stronger than home. Another small adjustment to manage. "Ambassador Lena," Director Kim said, bowing slightly before extending his hand in the human greeting gesture. "Welcome to Earth Station Alpha. We are honored to host you during your stay." Lena returned the bow, then carefully took his hand. Human skin felt warmer than she expected. "The honor is mine, Director Kim. My people value this growing alliance. Please follow me. I'll show you to your quarters so you can rest before tomorrow's meetings." They walked through the gleaming corridors of the station. Humans stopped to look at her with curious expressions. Lena was used to such attention. Tavari had only made official contact with Earth 2 years ago, and she was only the third diplomat to visit this station. "Your quarters have been adjusted to Tavari comfort preferences," Director Kim explained as they walked. "Temperature, lighting, and humidity should all be within your optimal ranges. If anything needs adjustment, the room system responds to voice commands." "Your thoughtfulness is appreciated," Lena said. What she didn't mention, what her superiors had instructed her not to disclose unless absolutely necessary, was the matter of the Tavari biological cycle. Once each Earth year, adult Tavari experienced a mating season that triggered hormonal changes and dormant biological processes. During this time, they typically secluded themselves, as the cycle could cause emotional intensity and the emergence of telepathic abilities normally suppressed in their species. Her superiors had calculated the timing carefully. Her cycle wasn't due for another month, well after her scheduled return home. The risk had seemed minimal, and not worth complicating diplomatic relations with information the humans might find concerning. They reached her quarters, and Director Kim showed her how to use the entry panel. The door slid open to reveal a spacious room with simple but elegant furnishings. "There will be a welcome dinner at 1900 hours, he said. "That gives you 4 hours to rest and prepare. A guide will come to escort you." "Thank you, Director." When he left, Lena finally allowed her posture to relax. She explored the room, noting with approval the computer terminal, the sleeping platform designed to accommodate Tavari physiology, and the private washroom with both water and sonic cleaning options. She unpacked her few personal items, placing a small crystal sculpture from her homeworld on the desk. The sculpture caught the light, sending rainbow patterns across the wall, a small piece of home in this foreign place. As she finished arranging her belongings, a wave of unusual warmth passed through her body, making her skin markings flash briefly. Lena paused, concerned, but the sensation passed quickly. "Just travel stress," she told herself. "Nothing to worry about." She lay down on the sleeping platform, intending to rest briefly before preparing for the dinner. Her mind drifted to her mission objectives: strengthen the trade agreements, establish cultural exchange protocols, and assess human society for deeper cooperation potential. The Tavari High Council was particularly interested in human adaptability. Unlike most spacefaring species the Tavari had encountered, humans had developed surprisingly creative solutions to problems that other species approached with brute force or advanced technology. This made them potentially valuable allies in the increasingly complex web of interstellar relations. Lena dozed off but woke an hour later feeling uncomfortably warm. She adjusted the room temperature downward and drank some water. Perhaps her body was simply struggling more with Earth's atmosphere than expected. By the time her guide arrived, a young human woman named Officer Han, Lena had managed to compose herself again. Her formal diplomatic robes for the evening featured cooling technology that should help if she experienced more temperature fluctuations. The station commander and representatives from all departments will be present tonight, Officer Han explained as they walked to the dining hall. They're very excited to meet you. The dining hall had been decorated with both Earth and Tavari symbols. A long table was set with various foods, carefully labeled to indicate which were safe for Tavari consumption. Director Kim introduced Lena to each person, and she catalogued their names and positions carefully in her memory. The station commander, a tall woman named Director Park, seemed particularly interested in Tavari cultural practices. We've prepared some foods based on the recommendations from your predecessors, Director Park said. I hope they meet with your approval. The meal proceeded pleasantly, with careful conversation about non-sensitive topics, art, music, planetary climates. Lena answered questions about Tavari society while asking her own about human customs. As the evening progressed, however, she found herself increasingly distracted by waves of unusual sensation. Twice, she noticed her skin markings pulsing without her conscious control, something that shouldn't happen outside of the mating cycle. Impossible, she thought, maintaining her diplomatic smile while panic stirred beneath. The cycle calculations were verified multiple times. By the time she returned to her quarters, Lena could no longer deny it. The unfamiliar atmosphere, perhaps combined with the stress of her first mission, had somehow triggered her cycle early. She would need to contact her homeworld immediately for guidance. She fell into an uneasy sleep, unaware that the station's communication systems had just been hit by a massive solar flare, cutting off all contact with her homeworld for the next 2 days. The morning sunlight filtered through the special polarized windows of Lena's quarters, designed to mimic the gentler rays of her homeworld's sun. She woke with a start, her entire body uncomfortably warm. When she glanced at her reflection in the washroom mirror, she froze in alarm. The small bioluminescent markers across her cheeks and forehead pulsed with bright patterns of blue and violet, unmistakable signs of her mating cycle beginning. This cannot be happening, she whispered, pressing her cool palms against her flushed face. The consequences raced through her mind. Tavari mating cycles weren't just about reproduction. They triggered dormant biological systems, including telepathic abilities that had evolved as mate-finding mechanisms millennia ago. These abilities could affect nearby sentient beings, projecting emotional states and creating mental connections without consent. No wonder her people isolated during this time. No wonder this information was shared only on a need-to-know basis with other species. Lena tried the communication panel, hoping to reach the Tavari High Council. The system flashed red, displaying a message about communications disruption due to solar activity. She tried several override codes, but nothing worked. A chime at her door interrupted her growing panic. She grabbed a ceremonial scarf and wrapped it around her face to hide the glowing markers. "Enter," she called, struggling to keep her voice steady. Officer Han appeared in the doorway, holding a data tablet. "Good morning, Ambassador. I have your schedule for today." The trade discussions begin at 900 hours in. She stopped, noticing Lena's unusual appearance. "Is everything all right?" "Just a minor cultural observance," Lena lied. "I need to speak with Director Kim immediately. It's urgent. He's in an early meeting. But I can." "Please, Officer Han. It's a matter of station security. Something in Lena's tone must have conveyed her desperation. Officer Han nodded and gestured for Lena to follow her. As they walked through the corridors, Lena felt the changes progressing faster than she'd expected. Her skin temperature rose further, and she sensed a new awareness of the minds around her. Faint impressions of thoughts and emotions brushing against her consciousness like fingers trailing through water. They found Director Kim in a briefing room with several department heads. He looked up, surprised at the interruption. "Director, Ambassador Lena needs to speak with you urgently," Officer Han announced. Director Kim must have noticed something was wrong because he immediately excused himself. "Let's use my office," he said, leading Lena down a side corridor. Once the door closed behind them, Lena removed her scarf, revealing her now brightly glowing facial markers. "I need to contact my homeworld immediately," she said, her voice tight with strain. "Something unexpected has happened." Director Kim's eyes widened at her appearance. "The communication systems are down across the station. A massive solar flare hit us last night. The technical team estimates at least 48 hours before we can re-establish deep space communications." Lena sank into a chair, her markings flashing distress signals in bright purple pulses. "Then I have a serious situation to explain to you, Director." She told him about the Tavari mating cycle, the biological changes it triggered, and the telepathic abilities that would soon emerge. As she spoke, she noticed Director Kim's expression shift from confusion to concern. "How much time do we have before these telepathic effects begin?" he asked when she finished. "Hours, not days," Lena admitted. "I need isolation immediately. A room with thick walls, far from your crew." Director Kim thought for a moment. "The research facility has a shielded testing chamber. It was designed to contain various forms of radiation and energy. Would that suffice?" "It might," Lena said cautiously, "but someone would need to monitor from outside. If the telepathic projections become too strong, they might penetrate ordinary shielding." Director Kim nodded gravely. "I'll handle this personally and limit knowledge of the situation to essential personnel only. We have protocols for unexpected biological situations." As they headed toward the research facility, Lena felt another wave of heat wash through her body. Her steps faltered, and Director Kim caught her arm to steady her. The moment of contact sent a shock through both of them. Lena jerked away, horrified to realize she had unintentionally projected a burst of emotion into his mind. "I'm sorry," she gasped. Director Kim blinked rapidly, looking momentarily disoriented. "That was unexpected," he said finally, "but I'm fine. Let's keep moving." They passed through the main research area, drawing curious glances from the scientists. Lena kept her face covered, but she could feel her control slipping. The minds around her became increasingly vivid. Constellations of thoughts and feelings she couldn't help but sense. One researcher approached them, his curiosity a bright flare in Lena's growing telepathic awareness. "Director, is this related to the new xenobiology project?" he asked. "Classified situation, Dr. Pak," Director Kim replied smoothly. "Please clear the testing area for the next 72 hours. Security Protocol Omega." Dr. Pak's eyes widened at the high-level protocol designation, but he nodded and began instructing the other researchers to secure their projects and vacate the area. They reached the testing chamber, a hexagonal room with metallic walls and a single transparent observation panel. Inside was a simple cot, a water dispenser, and basic facilities. "The chamber is designed to contain various forms of energy," Director Kim explained. "We use it to test potentially dangerous materials and reactions." Lena moved inside, already feeling slightly better as the thick walls muted her awareness of the minds outside. "Thank you for your understanding, Director. Most species would react with fear to our biology." "Fear doesn't solve problems," he replied simply. "I'll stay in the observation room and monitor the containment field. If you need anything, use the intercom system." As the heavy door sealed shut, Lena removed her outer robes, now uncomfortably hot against her skin. The cool air of the chamber provided momentary relief, but she knew worse was coming. In the observation room, Director Kim began configuring the containment field, adjusting settings based on what little he understood of Tavari biology. A security alert flashed on his screen. He opened it to find a message from station security. Unauthorized, Gi-A-They Engineer Research Section. Rumors of alien biological threat spreading. Director Kim frowned. Someone must have noticed Lena's condition and talked. He opened the station communication system. "Attention all personnel," he announced. "This is Director Kim. We are conducting a sensitive xenobiological research project. All rumors of threats are false. Please continue normal operations and avoid the research section for the next 72 hours. Inside the chamber, Lena curled on the cot as her body temperature continued to rise. Her skin now glowed continuously, patterns shifting and pulsing with increasing intensity. She could feel her telepathic abilities growing stronger by the minute, pushing against the containment field like water pressing against a dam. "Director," she called through the intercom, her voice strained. "The field might not hold. I can feel it straining already." "I'm working on adjustments," he replied, his voice steady despite the growing pressure she could sense in his mind. "Hold on, Ambassador. We'll get through this together." But both of them knew they were facing a rapidly deteriorating situation, with no easy solution in sight. The containment chamber's warning systems flashed yellow as Lena's telepathic emissions grew stronger. Director Kim watched the readings climb steadily higher on his monitoring station, his face illuminated by the glow of multiple screens. 12 hours had passed since they had sealed Lena inside, and the situation was worsening faster than either had anticipated. Inside the chamber, Lena paced in growing discomfort. Her skin now pulsed with bright patterns that shifted from blue to purple to a deep crimson. She could feel her thoughts pushing outward, seeking connection, following ancient biological imperatives she normally kept carefully controlled. The intercom crackled. "Ambassador, the containment field is at 87% capacity," Director Kim reported. "How are you feeling?" Lena stopped pacing and looked toward the observation window. "It's becoming difficult to contain my projections," she admitted. "On my world, we use specially designed isolation chambers with psychic dampening technology. This facility wasn't built for this purpose." She didn't add her growing fear that her telepathic emissions might soon break through the containment field and affect the humans nearby. The thought of violating their mental privacy horrified her. "I've called an officer hand to assist with monitoring," Director Kim said. "She has clearance for sensitive situations. We'll work in shifts to ensure constant observation." "No," Lena said sharply. "The fewer minds nearby, the better. And," she hesitated, "there's something else you should know. As the cycle progresses, the telepathic projections become more specific." "Specific?" Director Kim asked. Lena's facial markings flushed a deeper red with embarrassment. "They focus on finding compatible mates. They project desire, Director. It's why we isolate during this time. The projections can influence others' emotions and thoughts in ways that bypass normal conscious control." Director Kim was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice remained professional. "I understand. Thank you for being forthright. This doesn't change our approach. Your safety and the station's security remain our priorities." A new alarm sounded, this one more urgent. One section of the containment field had weakened to 70%. "I need to make a decision," Director Kim said, his fingers moving rapidly over the controls. "Our standard protocols aren't sufficient for this situation." Lena pressed her palms against the cool wall of the chamber, trying to ground herself as another wave of heat washed through her body. "In approximately 6 hours, the cycle will reach its peak. The telepathic emissions will be at their strongest for about 12 hours after that." Director Kim nodded, making calculations. "That means we need a solution that will last at least 18 more hours." He tapped his communication device. "Security, this is Director Kim. I need the research section cleared of all non-essential personnel immediately. Authorization code Alpha 937. He turned back to the observation window. Ambassador, I have an idea, but I need your permission before proceeding. Anything that helps contain this situation, Lena said, wiping moisture from her brow. The station has advanced neural dampening technology we use for medical purposes, specifically for patients with certain neurological conditions that cause seizures. It creates a field that stabilizes neural activity. It's not designed for telepathic emissions, but the principle might be similar enough to help. Lena considered this. Such technology could be harmful to Tavari physiology. Our neural pathways are significantly different from yours. I'm aware of the risk, Director Kim said, but I believe we can modify it to work with your biology rather than against it. Dr. Pak has studied the Tavari medical data your government shared last year. With his help, we might be able to create a dampening field specifically tuned to your neural patterns. Another alarm sounded. The containment field had dropped to 65% in 2 sections now. We don't have much choice, Lena admitted, but Dr. Pak would need to know about my condition. He's our leading xenobiologist and bound by medical confidentiality, Director Kim assured her. I trust him completely. Lena nodded her agreement, and Director Kim immediately contacted Dr. Pak. Within 30 minutes, Dr. Pak arrived at the observation room, carrying several cases of equipment. His eyes widened when he saw Lena through the window, her body now glowing brightly enough to cast shadows. Fascinating, he murmured, before catching himself. I understand the urgency, Director. The neural dampeners can be modified, but I'll need to take readings of the ambassador's current neural patterns. Is that safe to do remotely? Director Kim asked. Dr. Pak nodded, already setting up his equipment. The scanner can work through the containment field. Ambassador, please stand still for a moment while I calibrate. Lena complied, standing motionless as Dr. Pak directed a handheld device toward her. The device hummed softly as it collected data. Remarkable, Dr. Pak said, studying the readings. The neural activity is unlike anything I've seen before. The patterns suggest both internal processing and external projection. It's almost like a transmission system. Another alarm blared. The containment field had dropped below 60%. Doctor, we need solutions, not observations, Director Kim said firmly. Yes, of course, Dr. Pak replied, connecting his device to the main system. I believe we can modify the neural dampeners to create a counter-frequency that will neutralize the projections without harming the ambassador, but it will take time to program correctly. How much time? Director Kim asked. 2 hours, maybe 3, Dr. Pak admitted. Lena's voice came through the intercom, strained but determined. The field won't hold that long. There's only one solution that guarantees station safety. She paused. You need to sedate me. Both men looked at her in surprise. Tavari biology allows for a deep stasis state, she explained. It's used for medical emergencies. The proper sedative would trigger this state and suppress all neural activity, including the telepathic projections. We don't have Tavari medical supplies, Director Kim pointed out. Check storage unit 7 in my quarters, Lena said. I brought emergency medical supplies, including sedatives. It's standard protocol for diplomatic missions. Director Kim immediately sent Officer Han to retrieve the supplies. Meanwhile, Dr. Pak continued working on his neural dampener modification. The sedative should be used only as a last resort, Dr. Pak advised. Artificially suppressing such an intense biological process could have unknown consequences. The containment field dropped to 55%. Ambassador, are you certain about this? Director Kim asked. Lena nodded, her expression resolute despite her obvious discomfort. My people have strict ethical codes about telepathic influence. I would rather risk my own health than violate the mental autonomy of others. Officer Han returned quickly with a small metal case. Inside were several vials of iridescent blue liquid and an injection device. I'll need to enter the chamber to administer this, Director Kim said, already moving toward the protective suits stored nearby. No, Lena said firmly. The proximity would expose you directly to my projections. The chamber has an automated medical system. I can use it to administer the sedative myself. Director Kim hesitated, clearly torn between protocol and respect for her autonomy. Trust me to handle this, Director, Lena said softly. Your trust means more than you know. After a moment's consideration, Director Kim nodded. We'll send the case through the transfer drawer. The containment field will hold for that brief exposure. As they prepared the transfer, Dr. Pak looked up from his work. Director, I believe I've made a breakthrough with the dampening field. With another hour of work, I might have a solution that doesn't require sedation. The field dropped to 50%, and another alarm joined the cacophony. The moment of decision had arrived. Director Kim looked at the failing containment readings, then at Lena's determined face, and finally at Dr. Pak's hopeful expression. We'll proceed with both plans, he decided. Ambassador, prepare the sedative, but don't administer it yet. Dr. Pak, you have 1 hour to implement your solution. If it doesn't work by then, we use the sedative. Both Lena and Dr. Pak nodded in agreement. As Officer Han placed the medical case in the transfer drawer, Director Kim added quietly, Whatever happens, Ambassador, you're not alone in this. Lena's facial markings shifted briefly to a deep blue, a color of gratitude in Tavari emotional displays. Thank you, Director. Your wisdom honors your species. The decision was made. Now they could only hope it was the right one. The warning lights in the observation room turned from yellow to red as the containment field weakened further. Dr. Pak worked frantically at his console, making adjustments to the neural dampening system, while Director Kim monitored the deteriorating situation. 45% containment and dropping. Director Kim announced, his voice tense but controlled. Dr. Pak, what's our status? The modifications are at 80% completion. Dr. Pak replied without looking up from his work. I need 20 more minutes. Inside the chamber, Lena sat cross-legged on the floor, the sedative injection device beside her. Her entire body glowed like a living flame, patterns of light moving across her skin in hypnotic waves. She focused on her breathing, using Tavari meditation techniques to maintain control for as long as possible. A sudden spike in the readings made Director Kim straighten in alarm. Ambassador, we just registered a massive surge in the telepathic emissions. The containment field can't hold much longer. I feel it, Lena said, her voice strained. The cycle is reaching its peak faster than I expected. Earth's atmosphere must be accelerating the process. She reached for the injection device. I should administer the sedative now. Wait, Dr. Pak called out. Just a few more minutes. I'm almost. His words were cut off by a loud crack as one section of the containment field failed completely. Alarms blared throughout the research section. Containment breach in Sector 3. Officer Han reported from her security station. The telepathic emissions are leaking into adjacent corridors. Director Kim made a swift decision. Lock down the entire research wing. No one enters or leaves until we resolve this situation. He turned to the observation window. Ambassador, use the sedative now. Lena lifted the injection device, but before she could use it, a wave of intense telepathic energy surged from her body. The device fell from her hand as she doubled over, overwhelmed by the force of her own emissions. In the observation room, Director Kim staggered as the telepathic wave hit him. Images and emotions not his own flooded his mind. Longing, desire, connection, all tinged with Lena's distinctive consciousness. Director, Dr. Pak called, also affected but less strongly due to his position further from the chamber. Are you all right? Director Kim gripped the edge of the console, fighting to maintain his focus. I'm managing, he said through gritted teeth. The effects are intense, but I can still think clearly. Officer Han's voice came through the communication system, sounding confused. Director, we have a situation developing outside the research wing. Several crew members are gathering there, trying to gain access. They're saying they need to reach the ambassador. Those would be the affected personnel, Dr. Pack explained. The telepathic emissions are drawing them toward the source. Director Kim straightened with visible effort. Officer Han, maintain the lockdown. Use security fields if necessary, but no one enters this section. Yes, sir, she replied. But the crowd is growing. In the chamber, Lena had managed to regain enough control to reach for the injection device again. Her hands trembled as she prepared to administer the sedative. Wait, Dr. Pack suddenly called out. I've completed the modifications. We can deploy the neural dampening field now. Do it, Director Kim ordered. Dr. Pack activated the system. A low hum filled the area as the modified dampeners came online. For a moment, nothing seemed to change. Then, gradually, the intensity of Lena's glow began to diminish. Is it working? Director Kim asked, still fighting the effects of the telepathic influence. Partially, Dr. Pack replied, studying the readings. The emissions are decreasing, but not quickly enough. The field is too weak. Director Kim thought quickly. The station's main power core. Can we reroute emergency power to strengthen the field? Yes, but it would require manual adjustment at the central power distribution hub, Dr. Pack said. Someone would have to go there physically to make the changes. I'll go, Director Kim decided. Director, you're already affected by the telepathic emissions, Dr. Pack protested. The further you move from the source, the more difficult it will be to maintain focus. I'm aware of the risk, Director Kim replied firmly. But I'm also the only one with the authority to override the power distribution protocols. Inside the chamber, Lena watched this exchange through the observation window. Director, she called over the intercom. The sedative is still an option. Director Kim looked at her, his expression resolute. We'll try my way first, Ambassador. Your well-being matters too. He turned to Dr. Pack. Continue monitoring the situation. If the dampening field fails completely before I return, tell the ambassador to use the sedative immediately. With that, Director Kim left the observation room, staggering slightly as he moved away from Lena's telepathic influence. The further he went, the more the strange emotions and thoughts tried to pull him back. Each step required conscious effort. Meanwhile, the crowd outside the research wing continued to grow. Officer Han and her security team maintained the lockdown, but the affected crew members were becoming increasingly agitated. They're not themselves, Officer Han reported. Their behavior suggests they're responding to some kind of irresistible call. Director Kim reached the central power hub, his mind foggy with alien emotions. He had to concentrate fiercely to remember the override codes. His fingers fumbled over the control panel as he input his security clearance. Access granted, the system announced. Please specify power redistribution parameters. Director Kim began the complex process of rerouting emergency power to the research section. The task required precise calculations and timing. Challenging under normal circumstances, nearly impossible under telepathic influence. Back in the observation room, Dr. Pack watched the dampening field fluctuate. It's not stable, he told Lena. Without additional power, it will fail within minutes. Lena nodded, her glow pulsing with her accelerated heartbeat. If it fails, I'll use the sedative. I won't risk harming your people. In the power hub, Director Kim completed the final adjustments. Computer, execute power redistribution pattern Kim Alpha 7. Warning. This action will divert emergency power from non-critical systems. Proceed. Confirm, Director Kim said, wiping sweat from his forehead. The station lights dimmed momentarily as power surged to the research section. In the observation room, Dr. Pack's equipment suddenly brightened, and the neural dampening field strengthened significantly. It's working, Dr. Pack exclaimed as the reading stabilized. The telepathic emissions are being contained. Inside the chamber, Lena felt the pressure in her mind ease as the dampening field surrounded her like a comforting blanket. The glow of her skin dimmed to a manageable level and her thoughts became more ordered. "The field is holding at 90% containment," Dr. Pak reported. Director Kim did it. Outside the research wing, the affected crew members slowly began to recover as the telepathic influence diminished. They looked around in confusion, many unable to explain why they had gathered there. Director Kim returned to the observation room, exhausted but triumphant. "Status report," he requested as he sank into a chair. "The modified dampening field is functioning effectively," Dr. Pak said. "The ambassador's condition appears to be stabilizing, and the telepathic emissions are now fully contained within the chamber." Director Kim looked through the observation window at Lena, who offered a tired smile in return. "You did not take the easy path," she said over the intercom. "Most species would have simply sedated me without trying to find another solution." "That's not how we solve problems here," Director Kim replied simply. "How are you feeling?" "Better," Lena said. "The dampening field is allowing me to maintain control while still experiencing the cycle naturally. This is unprecedented. On my world, we've always believed complete isolation was the only option." Director Kim nodded thoughtfully. "Sometimes the greatest discoveries come from necessity. When this is over, perhaps we can share this technology with your people. That would change Tavari society profoundly," Lena said softly. "It would mean freedom during our cycles, rather than isolation." The crisis wasn't over. Lena's cycle would continue for hours yet, but the immediate danger had passed. Human ingenuity and determination had found a solution where none seemed possible. As the observation room settled into a quieter monitoring mode, Director Kim couldn't help but think that this unexpected challenge might ultimately strengthen the alliance between their worlds in ways no formal treaty ever could. The morning light filtered through the station's large observation deck windows as Lena stood gazing at the blue curve of Earth below. 3 days had passed since the peak of her cycle, and the neural dampening field had performed flawlessly throughout. Her body had returned to its normal state. The bright patterns faded to soft silver marks against her blue skin. Behind her, the door slid open with a gentle hiss. Director Kim entered, carrying 2 steaming cups. "Earth tea," he explained, offering one to her. "I thought you might enjoy it." Lena accepted the cup gratefully. "Thank you for everything." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the slow dance of clouds across Earth's surface. The embarrassment Lena had expected to feel never materialized. Instead, she found herself appreciating the quiet understanding between them. "The communication systems are back online," Director Kim said finally. "Your government has been informed of the situation." Lena nodded. "Yes, I received their message this morning." She hesitated. "They were surprised by your solution." "Surprised in a good way, I hope," Director Kim replied. "Very much so. The High Council has never encountered a species that responded to our cycle with innovation rather than fear." She turned to face him directly. "They've requested detailed information about the neural dampening technology." Director Kim smiled slightly. "Dr. Pak is already preparing the technical specifications. He's quite proud of his modifications." "As he should be," Lena said. "Do you understand what this means for my people? For thousands of years, we've been prisoners of our biology during cycle times. This technology could change that forever." A small group of station personnel entered the observation deck, talking quietly among themselves. They nodded respectfully to Director Kim and Lena before moving to the far side of the room. Lena noticed they seemed at ease around her, no signs of the fear or discomfort she had expected after the incident. "You didn't tell them, did you?" she asked quietly. "About the nature of my cycle." "Only those directly involved know the details," Director Kim confirmed. "To everyone else, it was simply a biological issue that we resolved. Your privacy has been respected." Lena's facial markers glowed a soft blue of gratitude. On most worlds I visited, such an incident would have damaged diplomatic relations irrevocably. Yet here, it seems to have done the opposite. "The crew respects how you handled the situation," Director Kim said. Your willingness to use the sedative rather than risk harming others made an impression. It showed character. Officer Han approached them from across the deck, carrying a data tablet. She stopped a respectful distance away. Director, the Tavari diplomatic vessel has entered orbit. They're requesting docking permission. Already? Lena asked, surprised. They weren't scheduled to arrive for another week. The High Council sent them ahead of schedule, Officer Han explained. Apparently they're carrying special equipment for you, Ambassador. Director Kim gave permission for the vessel to dock, and Officer Han departed to coordinate the arrival procedures. Special equipment, Lena repeated thoughtfully. They must be taking this very seriously. As they should, Director Kim said. This could represent a major advancement for your people. They finished their tea as the station's announcement system informed everyone of the approaching Tavari vessel. When they reached the docking bay, a small contingent of Tavari officials was already disembarking. Their leader, an elder named Toran with elaborate silver markings, approached Lena with evident concern. Ambassador, are you well? He asked in their native language. I am perfectly well, Elder, she replied, bowing respectfully before switching to English. Allow me to introduce Director Kim, who found the solution to my unexpected cycle. Elder Toran studied Director Kim with bright, intelligent eyes. The High Council has reviewed your reports with great interest. Director, your approach was unconventional by our standards. Necessity often leads to innovation. Director Kim replied diplomatically. Indeed. Elder Toran gestured, and 2 Tavari technicians brought forward a large case. We have brought prototype units based on your neural dampening technology, modified for Tavari physiology. With your permission, we would like to conduct further tests here, where we know the technology works. Director Kim looked surprised but pleased. Of course, our facilities are at your disposal. We have also brought something else. Elder Toran continued. He produced a small crystal cube that glowed with inner light. This is the emblem of scientific cooperation, one of our highest honors. The High Council has authorized me to present it to your station in recognition of your breakthrough. Director Kim accepted the cube with appropriate solemnity. We are honored. As the formal greetings continued, Lena found herself reflecting on how differently this situation had unfolded from her worst fears. Instead of disgrace and damaged relations, her cycle had led to a technological breakthrough and strengthened alliance. Later that day, a formal reception was held to welcome the Tavari delegation. Scientists from both species gathered in animated discussion, comparing notes and sharing ideas about the neural dampening technology and its potential applications. Dr. Pak stood at the center of one such group, explaining his modifications with evident pride. The key insight was treating the telepathic emissions as a form of communication rather than energy. Once we understood that, adapting the dampeners was relatively straightforward. Elder Toran nodded thoughtfully. For generations, we've approached our cycles as something to be suppressed or contained. The idea of modulation rather than suppression never occurred to us. Director Kim found Lena standing slightly apart from the gathering, watching the interactions with evident satisfaction. Your mission was to evaluate whether deeper cooperation would benefit both our peoples, he said. Have you reached a conclusion? Lena smiled. My report to the High Council was submitted this morning. I recommended establishing a permanent Tavari embassy on Earth, the first in our history. And the Council's response? They approved unanimously, she said. They also asked if I would consider serving as the first permanent ambassador. Director Kim raised his eyebrows. And will you? I've requested that you be assigned as my official liaison, she replied. If you're willing. Before Director Kim could respond, Elder Toran called for attention. The room quieted as he stood in the center, his dignified presence commanding respect. Today marks a new chapter in relations between our worlds, he announced. What began as a potentially embarrassing diplomatic incident has instead revealed the true character of humanity. Not fear of difference, but curiosity and compassion in the face of challenge. He gestured to Lena and Director Kim. Ambassador Lena has been appointed as our first permanent representative to Earth, and Director Kim will serve as the official liaison between our peoples. Together, they have shown us that even our biological differences can become opportunities for understanding. The room erupted in applause. As Lena looked around at the gathered humans and Tavari, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. What she had feared would end her diplomatic career had instead transformed it, and perhaps transformed her people's future as well. "I believe," she said quietly to Director Kim as the celebration continued around them, "that this is what true diplomacy should be, not just working around our differences, but learning from them." Director Kim nodded. Understanding often comes from the most unexpected challenges. Outside the station windows, Earth continued its stately rotation, its blue expanse a reminder of all the possibilities that lay ahead for both their worlds.